So good afternoon, everyone. So in the last class, we have completed the chapter semiconductor electronics, right? So do you have any doubts regarding the logic gates? Any doubts? So in case if you have any doubts, please do a reply. Okay, so that we will have a recap of that, or else in case if you have any doubts, so just I'll clear that a doubt. Okay. Okay, Sujan. Okay, fine. See, some of the topics in this chapter has been removed. Okay, so there is some editing should be done to this notes. Okay, notes of this chapter. So I'm working on that. I think maybe within 2 days you are going to get the PDF notes of the semiconductor electronics. Okay. Uh, okay, fine. See, in today's class, just since we have completed the chapter semiconductor, just we will have a look on the entire topic of this. Okay, so just I'll give a few ideas. Okay, so just briefing, it's like a briefing of all the topics in this chapter. Okay, so that in case if you have any doubt in any of the topic, so that you can get it clarified. Okay, so now as you know that the first thing what we came across in this chapter was regarding the classification of this conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. As you know that in the case of conductors, which allows the charges to flow through it, is called as the conductors we call, right? Similarly, coming to insulator, insulator is nothing but which doesn't allow the charges to flow through them, is called as insulator. When it comes to semiconductor, as you know that semiconductors behaves like a insulator at low temperature. Okay, so at the high temperature, when you increase the temperature, it starts conducting. Okay, so hence this was regarding the classification of this conductors, semiconductors, and insulators, right? Next, we came across this band theory of solids, right? So what I mean by this band theory of solids, so actually, as we know that when we take a solid, there are n number of atoms present inside the solids, right? So for an example, if I take two atoms, as you know that each atom has its own energy levels. Okay, the electrons of each atom revolves in different orbits, right? So when I make the two atoms to come closer to each other, so what happens, each energy level gets divided into two. That means that it gets split up into two, right? So since it gets split up into two, you can assume, that what happens if you make a large number of atoms, when you make that large number of atoms to come closer to each other, so what happens, each energy level split up into n number of uh, levels. Okay, so this is what we call as the energy levels, right? So as we keep on going higher and higher, what happens, the gap between the energy levels keeps on decreasing, and at the end, what we say it, as we go, as we go uh, higher and higher, the spacing between the energy levels keeps on decreasing, and we say that the continuum has been reached. Okay, so this is regarding the band theory of solids. Okay, so next, coming to this energy bands. Okay, coming to this energy band, that is conduction band, valence band in the case of conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. As you know that in the case of conductors, the conduction band and the valence band has been overlapped. You can see, you can just go through the figure there, both has been overlapped, right? So since metal has more number of free electrons, right? So since due to that, what happens, the conduction band and the valence band has been overlapped in this case. Coming to the next, semiconductors. In the semiconductors, you can see there the conduction band and the valence band has been separated by a small uh, a band gap. Okay, so when you increase, I mean, as you know that semiconductor at the low temperature behaves like an insulator. So if you give some energy, that means that in the terms of when you increase the temperature of the semiconductor, so what happens? So the electrons, okay, the electrons which is in the valence band will be able to overcome that band gap, and it will be able to reach that conduction band. So that there will be a, when these electrons from valence band reaches the conduction band, so there will be a electrical conductivity. Okay, so this is regarding about the semiconductors. Coming to the insulators, as you know that by seeing the figure itself, you can know that the conduction band and the valence band has been separated by a large band gap. Okay, so since the band gap is very high, so hence the valence band, I mean the electrons which are in the valence band will not be able to reach the conduction band. That means that if you want to make the electrons to move from valence band to conduction band, you need to apply more energy. Okay, so this is regarding the uh, classification of these conductors, semiconductors, and insulators based upon this conduction band and the valence band. Okay, so next, coming to the classification of semiconductors. As you know that we have two types of semiconductors. One is the intrinsic semiconductor and the one is extrinsic semiconductor. So in the case of extrinsic semiconductor, we have two more types. So let us come to that later. So coming to this intrinsic semiconductor. Okay. So coming to this intrinsic semiconductor, when I ask a question to you people, what do you mean by this intrinsic semiconductor? The simple answer you can say is it is a pure semiconductor, you can say, right? So we say that the intrinsic semiconductor are pure semiconductor because we are not adding any impurities to this type of semiconductor. Okay, so in this case, what happens? There are equal number of electrons and holes. Okay, so in this case, in case of intrinsic semiconductor, the number of electron and holes will be equal in number. Okay, so hence we call this type of semiconductor as pure semiconductor, and the electrical conductivity in this case will be due to the equal number of free electrons and holes. Okay, as you know that when you see that figure, you can see that we have germanium atoms there. So you know that this germanium atom has four valence electrons, right? So when you make two germanium atoms to come closer to each other, so what happens? One of the germanium atom forms the four pairs of covalent bonding with the neighbor one. Okay, so hence this type of semiconductors are called as intrinsic semiconductor, we call. Okay, next, coming to the extrinsic semiconductor. So as you know that in the case of extrinsic semiconductor, we are adding some impurities to that process is called, we call that one as the dopant, we call. Okay, so doping, that process is called as doping, we call. Okay, so why do we add these impurities to this intrinsic semiconductor? If you ask this question, the answer is nothing but, so in the case of intrinsic semiconductor, the electrical conductivity, as you know that it is due to the equal number of electrons and holes. Okay, so what in case if I want the electrical conductivity to be more? Okay, so if I want that if I want to make that electrical conductivity more, so what I need to do is I need to increase the temperature of the semiconductor. So by increasing the temperature of the semiconductor, what happens? As you keep on increasing, there may be a case where semiconductors get burnt. Okay, it may damage. Okay, the increase in temperature of the semiconductor, it may affect to the semiconductor, so and it may get damaged. So hence the alternate way to increase the electrical conductivity is nothing but adding impurity. Okay, so by adding impurity, what happens is we are just increasing the number of one of the charges over the another. Okay, and the charges is nothing but, as you know that we have charges like holes and electrons, just we are increasing one over the other. Okay, so in the case of intrinsic semiconductor, as you know that the first type is n type semiconductor, and the next one is p type semiconductor. So in the case of n type semiconductor, as you know that we are taking a silicon or germanium and a phosphorus. Okay, a phosphorus is added. So since you know that phosphorus is a pentavalent. Okay, that means that it has 5 valence electrons, whereas the germanium or silicon, anyone we are going to choose. So silicon or germanium has the 4 electrons. Okay, so when you add this impurity, that is the phosphorus, so what happens, this phosphorus forms the covalent bonding, 4 pairs of covalent bonding with the germanium or silicon. So one will be left out. Okay, since phosphorus has 5 electrons, okay, one will be left. That means that one electron will be free by adding one of the phosphorus. Imagine that you are adding more number of phosphorus. Okay, so what happens, each phosphorus atom makes one electron to be free. So as you keep on increasing, what happens, the number of electrons compared to the number of holes keeps on increasing. That means that the number of electrons will be more compared to the number of holes. Okay, so hence in this type of semiconductor, that is in the n type semiconductor, we say that the majority charge carriers are free electrons. Okay, and the minority charge carriers are holes. Okay, so this is one of the way how we are going to increase the electrical conductivity of a semiconductor. Okay, so hence this type where free electrons is more compared to the holes, this type of semiconductors are called as the n type semiconductor. Okay, so we also call that free electron as the donor. Okay, next, coming to the p-type semiconductor. Coming to the p-type semiconductor, again the same thing. We are taking either a silicon or germanium, and we are going to add the trivalent element. Trivalent element, that is like aluminum. Since aluminum has a 3 valence electron, here what we are taken, silicon or germanium will have a 4 valence electron. Okay, when you add aluminum to it, so what happens? Three of the aluminum. Okay, it forms a 3 pairs of covalent bonds with the silicon or germanium. Okay, so what happens, one will be in shortage. Okay, that means that which results in the hole, formation of hole. Okay, so due to this, what happens, if you add one of the aluminum, so it gives a shortage of one. Okay, one electron will be shortage there, I mean formation of covalent bonding there. So when you add one aluminum element to the germanium or silicon, what happens, which give rise to a one hole. Okay, so if you keep on adding the aluminum more and more, so what happens, the number of holes keeps increasing. Okay, when you compare the number of holes with the number of free electrons, what happens, the number of holes will be more compared to the number of free electrons. So hence there the electrical conductivity will be more, and hence we conclude that the majority charge carriers in the case of p-type semiconductor is due to the holes. Okay, so majority charge carriers in the case of p-type is holes, and the minority charge carriers in the case of p-type is electrons. Okay, so this is regarding the p-type and n-type semiconductor. Okay, okay, fine. Next, coming to this p-n junction. As you know that in the case of p-n junction, uh, we have p- uh, we have a diode. Okay, normal diode. So where one of the side is doped with p type, and one of the side is doped with n type. Okay, so the layer or the junction which is separating this p type and n type side is called as the, we call that one as the junction. Okay, that is called as the p-n junction we call. So as you know that in the case of p type, the majority charge carriers are, which is that, holes, and in the case of n type, the majority charge carriers are electrons. Okay, so what happens when you connect a battery to that, when you connect a battery to this diode, so what happens is there is a diffusion of electrons and holes towards the other side. So due to this, what happens, there will be a electrical conductivity. That means that there will be a recombination of this electron and holes, so which results in the current in the external circuit. When you connect the external circuit to that, there will be a current. Okay, so as this diffusion of electrons and holes takes places, so what happens at the junction, there will be a formation of this immobile ions we call. Okay, you can see there the positive charges, that is the positive ions, it is towards the n side there, and the negative ions is towards the uh, p side, right? So that uh, charges which is formed there, that is the ions which is formed at the junction there, we call that one as the immobile ions we call, since they are not free to move. So we call that one as the immobile. Okay, immobile ions we call. Okay, so hence, as these immobile ions starts accumulating at the junction, what happens, it always tries to stop the diffusion of electron and holes towards the other side. Okay, so hence, since the ions, positive ions and negative ions are accumulated at the junction, there will be a potential developed across the junction, and that potential is called as, we call that one as the junction potential difference, or we call that one as the contact potential difference. Okay, so in the case of silicon it is 0.7 volt, and in the case of germanium it is 0.3 volt. Okay, so this is regarding the PN junction. So next, uh, about the semiconductor. So it's very easy. You can go through that. I'll come to forward bias. What do you mean by this forward bias and reverse bias? Okay. So when do you say that the diode is to be connected? I mean, when do you say that the diode is connected in the way of forward bias? That means that when the diode is connected, when the p type of the semiconductor is connected to positive terminal, and the n type of the semiconductor connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Okay, so when the diode is connected in this way, we say that the semiconductor is forward biased. Okay, so in the case of forward bias, as you know that since the majority charge carriers in the p type is holes, and the majority charge carriers in n type is free electrons. So what happens, since you are connected p type to the positive and n type to the negative of the battery, so what happens, this majority charge carriers, that is the holes in the p type and the electrons in the n type, gets repelled. Okay, so since it gets repelled, what happens, the junction which is present in the semiconductor, okay, it gets narrow due to the repulsion of these holes and electrons. Okay, it becomes very thin. So hence, there is a diffusion of the electrons and holes towards the other side. Okay, so hence we say that in the case of forward bias, the electrical conductivity is more. Okay, and the width of that junction is very narrow in the case of forward bias. Okay, so in the case of reverse bias, coming to this reverse bias, as you know that in the case of reverse bias, the p type is connected to the negative terminal of the battery, whereas the n type is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. So due to this, what happens, the majority charge carriers, that is the holes in the p type, will be moving away from the junction. Similarly, these free electrons in the n type which is present will be moving away from the junction. Okay, so due to this, holes and the free electrons both are moving away from the junction, what happens, we say that the width of the junction increases. Okay, so due to this, what happens, the current electrical conductivity will be almost it will be a low. Okay, so as you keep on increasing the voltage, input voltage, okay, so what happens, as you keep on increasing the input voltage, the voltage which is given to the semiconductor, what happens, there will be a minority charge carriers. Okay, the minority charge carriers present in the p type and the n type. Okay, so that gets diffuses. Okay, so due to that, what happens in this case of reverse bias semiconductor, we say that the whatever the current you are going to get, it is due to the minority charge carriers. Okay, minority charge carriers which is present in the p type and the n type. Okay, so this is regarding the forward bias and the reverse bias. Okay, about this characteristic of the semiconductor. Okay, that is nothing but, as you can see the figure. Okay, figure C represents in the first quadrant, when you plot a graph, current versus voltage for a forward characteristic, you can see the nature of the graph which is displayed on the screen. Okay, so that means that what, when you take a silicon diode, okay, the junction potential barrier, I mean the junction potential difference comes out to be 0.7 volt. Okay, so as you keep on increasing the input voltage, so what happens, starting from point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.3, so what happens, there will be no current. Okay, so whatever the current, I mean, you can see from the graph there, the increase of current is almost very low. So what happens once it crosses the 0.7, okay, once it, the input voltage what you are giving, once it crosses the 0.7, what happens, you can see the large increase of current there. So once the input current crosses the 0.7, so that the holes in the p type and the electrons in the n type will be able to overcome that barrier, and it gets diffused and it gets recombined. Okay, so due to that there will be a current. Okay, so this is regarding the forward bias. Coming to the reverse bias, which has been plotted in the third quadrant there. So in the case of reverse bias, as you know that the current is due to a, the current what we are going to get is a very low current, and that too it is due to the minority charge carriers. Okay, so as you can see there, the current what you are going to get is very low. That means that the voltage has been increased in the terms of 2040. They have, it has been increasing. Okay, as you keep on increasing the voltage, you can see the current also increasing very small in a very small steps. Okay, so a voltage is reached. Okay, what do you say that, a point is reached where, okay, a point is reached where, as you keep on increasing the voltage, a point is reached where there will be a sudden increase of current in the reverse bias also. Okay, that voltage where there is an increase of sudden current, we call that one as the breakdown voltage we call. But we don't go, I mean, we don't increase the voltage beyond that breakdown voltage, because uh, in the case of reverse bias, the diode may get, the diode is always operated below this breakdown voltage in the case of reverse bias. Okay, so hence whatever the current you are going to see there, it is very low in the case of reverse bias. Okay, so this is regarding the forward bias and the reverse bias. So next, coming to the rectifier, half wave rectifier and full wave rectifier. See, in the case of half wave rectifier, as you know that, when you see the circuit diagram there, the AC input has been given. Okay, AC has been given as the input. The output what you are going to get is the DC. Okay, rectifier is always which converts AC into DC. Okay, so as you know that, since the primary coil has been given a AC as the input, so due to mutual induction, so what happens, there will be a, that input will be due to the mutual induction that appears across the secondary coil. Okay, due to mutual induction, so the AC which has been appeared across the secondary coil is the input of this rectifier here. Okay, so now what happens, since the diode has been connected in the forward bias, so what happens, in the first half cycle the diode has been connected in a positive, I mean in the forward bias, so that in the forward bias, as you know that, the electrical conductivity is more and the output will be more. So hence we say that in the case of first half cycle, when the diode is forward bias, it conducts. So next what happens, the diode will be connected in reverse bias. So in the case of reverse bias, as you know that, we say that the output is very low, hence we say that the current, I mean the diode doesn't conduct. Okay, so since the diode doesn't conduct, we say that, the output is low. Okay, or else the output what you are going to get is, will be almost a zero, you can think. Okay, so this is regarding the working of this semiconductor diode has a half wave rectifier. Okay, so only when the diode is connected in a forward bias, you are going to get the output. When the diode is reverse bias, you are not going to get the any output. Okay, so hence we say that the diode only conducts in the half of the cycle when it is forward bias. So hence the name given as half wave rectifier. So coming to the diode as a full wave rectifier. So what happens in this case? Diode as a full wave rectifier, if you take, we have two diodes in that. Okay, just you can see the figure there. We have two diodes in first half of the cycle. The diode D1 will be in forward bias, whereas the diode D2 will be in a reverse bias. So in the first half of the cycle, D1 conducts. Okay, since it is forward bias, it conducts and we are going to get the output. Okay, similarly in the case of next half of the cycle, what happens? D1 will be reverse bias, whereas the D2 will be forward bias. Okay, so in the rest half of the cycle, in the next half of the cycle, what happens? D2 conducts. Okay, since it is forward bias, whereas D1 doesn't conduct since it is reverse bias. Okay, so hence the output what we are going to get is only due to the diode D2. Okay, so hence in the both first cycle and the second cycle, in the first half of the cycle and the next half of the cycle, we are going to get a output. Okay, so hence the name given as the full wave rectifier. Okay, so we are going to get the output both in the first half of the cycle and the next half of the cycle. Okay, so hence the name given as full wave rectifier. Okay, so this is regarding the half wave rectifier and the full wave rectifier. Next, coming to the Zener diode. So Zener diode is nothing but it is a properly doped junction diode which has a sharp reverse breakdown voltage. Okay, so as you know that the practical application of this xenon diode is nothing but it is used as a voltage regulator. This xenon diode is a heavily doped. Okay, this xenon diode is a heavily doped. See, coming to the practical application of this xenon diode is nothing but, as we know that the xenon diode is always connected in a reverse bias. Okay, it is always connected in a reverse bias. So when you give a unregulated voltage, that is nothing but a fluctuating voltage. So if you give that, so what happens if the input voltage is very high? So what happens? The voltage drop across the resistor which is connected in series, the voltage drop across the resistor will be more. So what happens? The output what you are going to get will be a regulated voltage you are going to get. Similarly, suppose the input voltage what you are going to get is a low, what you are giving to the input is a assume that it is a low voltage what you are giving. So the voltage drop across the resistor will also be the low, hence the output what you are going to get will be a constant voltage. Okay, so since this is regarding the working of this Zener diode, so whatever the unregulated voltage you give to the input, you are going to get the regulated voltage, that is the constant output, constant voltage you are going to get. Okay, so since this is regarding the working of the Zener diode as a voltage regulator. Next, coming to photodiode, as you know that the photodiode is nothing but which is connected in a reverse bias. Okay, the photodiode is always connected in a reverse bias, so that nothing but when the this junction, when the PN junction, it is a simple PN junction, when it is exposed to the light, what happens? There will be a current. Okay, so just go through the figure that I have given that. You can see there the diode has been connected in a reverse bias. As you know that when you place this semiconductor diode in a dark room, so what happens at the room temperature itself? What happens? There will be a some current. Okay, there is a low current, we call that one as a dark current. Some of the electrons will be free to move. So due to that, what happens? There will be a small current at the room temperature itself. Okay, so that is denoted by, as you know that we call that one as a dark current. Okay, so next, when you expose this PN junction to the light, okay, so what happens? Let us say that the light falls on that junction. So photons which has the energy greater than the energy gap will excite an electron from valence band to conduction band. Okay, so hence electron hole pair is generated. So due to this, what happens? There will be a conduction of there will be a electrical conduction. Okay, in the external circuit. Okay, so this is regarding the working of this photodiode, and the current what you are going to get will be sum of the dark current plus sum of the current which you are going to get when you expose that PN junction to the light. Okay, so this is regarding the working of photodiode. Coming to the LED, as you know that in this case the PN junction is forward bias. So what happens when it is forward bias? The PN junction is forward bias. So when you expose, okay, okay, fine. Sorry. When the PN junction is forward bias, as you know that the electrons move from N side to P side, whereas the holes move towards from P side to N side. So what happens due to this? uh, Due to this recombination of this, I mean, since the due to the diffusion of these holes from the P to N side, whereas the electrons from N side to P type, so the minority charge carriers which is present in both P type and N type increases. So this minority charge carriers, what happens? It recombines with the majority charge carriers. So when these minority charge carriers recombine with these majority charge carriers, so what happens? The energy is released in the form of photons. Okay, so the photons with energy equal or slightly less than the band gap are emitted. Okay, so this is how the LED works. Okay, coming to the solar cell, as you know that solar cell is nothing but the junction which is separating the P type and the N type is more. So why it is the junction has been made wide there, so that more number of, I mean, more the junction is made wide because more number of light, let more number of light falls on that junction there. So when that more number of light falls on that, what happens? A more number of electron holes pair will be created. Okay, so when these photons falls on that junction, what happens? The electron hole pair will be created. So these electrons move towards the N region, whereas the holes move towards the P region. So due to this, what happens? The concentration keeps on increasing. Okay, the accumulation of these holes on the P side and the electrons on the N side keeps on increases. Due to that, the P type behaves like a positive electrode, whereas the N side behaves like a negative electrode. Okay, so more the light falls on that, I mean, more the photons falls on that junction. So what happens? More electron and hole pair will be created. Okay. So more the electron hole pair created, more number of electrons will be collected on the P side, and more number of holes will be collected at the uh, P type. Okay. More number of holes will be collected on the P type. More number of electrons will be collected at the N type. Okay. So this is regarding the working of the solar cell. Okay. When you connect the load across that P and N type, so you are going to get the output there. Okay, so this is regarding the working of photovoltaic cell. See next about this junction transistor and this CE transistor, transistor as a switch, and transistor as an amplifier. These things all has been removed, and even this transistor as an oscillator, they have removed all these things. That is why I said I'm just working on that to edit, I mean to delete some of the part, I mean to delete some of the topics which I said. Now transistor as a switch, transistor as a amplifier, and transistor as a oscillator, so this topics has been removed. Okay, so I'm just working on that. Editing has been going on. So once it is completed, so I'll just pass this. I mean, I'll just forward these notes to the your students group. Okay, so that you can go through the notes of this semiconductor chapter. Okay, so with this, I think I have briefed about the whole chapter of this semiconductor. So in case if you have any doubt, please do ask, so that I'm there to clear your doubts. Any doubt, students, please come to chat section. You can ask your doubt, you can clarify your doubt. Any doubt, students? Please do ask. Don't hesitate to ask the questions. Okay.